Yes, this is the perfect way. Leadership to men is I get to tell you what to do. Yes. For these people, not like Noah. I realize I'm pointing at Noah, but for the think before you sleep guy, that's what leadership means. That's it. Divine Pinkle, and thank you so much for the tier 1. Thank you.
Knowledge is common knowledge, and that's all you need. If a survey says women feel underrepresented in games, it must be one of those woke gaming surveys where they ask a bunch of woke gamers woke questions wokely.
There's no way that much of the general population agrees with this woke narrative, considering that in places like America, half the population are conservatives who don't care about this, and tons of liberals are anti-feminist too.
Half the population, 170 million chuds. Can you imagine? January 6th is just like the Lord of the Rings. Don't put your anti-feminist fantasies in my head, man. It is truly fascinating, though, watching him dance around for his audience and act like 8 hours of gaming is so much less than 10 hours of gaming, and act like not being able to find a study means that the study that we found is wrong, even though the study is right there on the screen proving the thing that he just doesn't believe. This is fun for me looking at that and going, what, man? Huh? Okay, on to Bumbo-Doo. The second main argument in this video is about the sexualization of female characters in video games. His first point on that concerns the practicality of Lara Croft's outfit from the game Lara Croft Tomb Raider. And yes, we're going back over this. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. This feels like an apology video with how much I'm apologizing to you guys. I should have just wrote the script down on my notes app and posted it on Twitter or something.
He doesn't fully
Whip out the ukulele, Noah.
clarify why he claims this outfit isn't practical, but it sounds like he's saying it's impractical for physical activity. That's not true. How are short shorts and a crop top impeding her mobility?
So first,
Dare I? Okay, let me just tell you guys something really quickly. Let me just say something. I went to the gym the other day, okay, in a pair of sweats. Because I was already wearing the sweats and I was like on my way home. I was like, you know what? Let's hit up the gym. This is a good time to go. And I was like, I'm not wearing my usual like yoga pants, but whatever. Every squat I did, I could feel the tension of the sweatpants. And I was like, this sucks. I didn't realize how amazing women's like sports gear and like yoga gear is until I had to wear something else. Women's yoga pants are the most comfortable, most practical garment that's ever been created. All right? Ever. You are wrong. Short shorts and crop tops are very protective and practical. Yeah. So I will just say that. I will just say stretch fabric is amazing. And they even make them nowadays with like the pockets and stuff. Great. Really, really great. Okay. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. If you are Lara Croft in a literal jungle, maybe you should have full body coverage for, you know, all of the mosquitoes and bugs and dirt. And if you fall, you can have at least a little bit of protection. If you get like a scab, your wound isn't getting immediately fucking infected. Like these seem like very practical things to be fully covered in clothing that's easy to move in. Branches be hard as fuck. Yeah. If I was in a jungle or some shit, you better believe I'm wearing pants. I'm not wearing fucking shorts. Are you kidding? Like I might wear shorts for like a picture and be like, haha. But you know I'm taking them bitches off immediately. Okay? All right? Plus, you're rock climbing and going in and out of water and being shot at. Yeah, if you're going in and out of water, wearing like capris is the worst thing you can wear. Like the material that capris are made out of or jeans. Terrible, terrible idea. Oh my God. It is not woke to say that, yeah, her outfit it's for show, you know, like it's not practical. But you can say that about a lot of things. Like, listen, okay. Listen, look, let's just talk about something, okay? I'm not telling Overwatch to change, okay? But there is no reason for Hanzo to have one nipple out. This can't be more comfortable than just wearing both of the sleeves. I refuse to believe it. I don't believe you. This is just because he has a really cool arm sleeve tattoo and he wants to show it off like a slut. All right? And video games aren't real. If you want to do this, go for it. But don't look me in the eyes and tell me that it's practical. Okay? We all agree. Free the nipple. But we should also all agree, not practical. Not practical at all. Okay? Not even remotely practical. Okay? It helps with his aiming. What do you mean? Oh, God. Yeah. And Lara Croft, I'm sorry, wearing shorts in a jungle, that is not practical. Okay? I can understand a crop top, maybe. Because I could see myself wearing, like, a sports bra. Right? And a sports bra and a crop top are basically the same thing. Like, I've gone to the gym in a crop top before. So I can understand the crop top. I get that one. That's fine. Because they are pretty comfortable. They don't really get in the way of anything. But the shorts, stop. Stop it.
Firstly, my argument that Lara Croft's outfit is impractical isn't that it impedes her mobility. It doesn't. It's impractical because in the game, she's getting shot at and attacked by dogs and alligators and other things that want to chew on you. A bunch of bare skin isn't a great defense against those sorts of things, you know? And that's what I said in my previous video, but here he just totally ignores that to talk about how you can wear this and run around, which is an easy thing to argue against, and it's not something I believe. Well played, Epic. Now, all of that isn't me saying that Lara needs to be wearing the Master Chief armor, nor that outfits in video games must adhere to some strict sense of practicality. I don't believe that. The reason I brought up this example,
and in fact, I do not want game developers to make characters that are practical. Okay? The only thing that game developers should be doing when they are making characters is making them easier to cosplay. That's the only important thing. Okay? That's the only important thing in terms of practicality. Okay, because cosplayers, that shit is difficult. When the outfit has like a million zippers for no reason, it's like, why? Who did this? Okay? You can make them impractical, like for the activity, like there's no reason for this person to be wearing this thing, given what they're doing. But please don't make them like unbelievably annoying. Okay, Lulu's dress a belt from FFX intensified. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts ass character design. Exactly.
Though, is because it's one of many cases in an observable trend of female characters wearing very impractical outfits for the sake of showing more skin and showing more of their unrealistically curvy figures. Anita Sarkeesian, God bless her, she made this same point 6 years ago. In the Feminist Frequency video, Lingerie is not armor.
Female heroes in video games might be special agents or soldiers or treasure hunters by trade. They often find themselves in dangerous, physically demanding situations.
I have to say one thing. What's going on with this woman's torso? Her boobs are facing right, but her torso is forward.
Situations, fighting off bad guys and saving the world. They are typically performing activities that call for practical or protective clothing. But when we look at the types of outfits that female characters are made to wear, we can see that they're both sexualized and completely absurd.
See, this here, all of these absurdly revealing outfits, they are impractical, but they exist because the game designers chose to make them that way. And why'd they do that? Why did Chris Shrigley, Andy Green, Rob Toon, Terry Lloyd, Simon Phipps, Dave Pridmore, Jeremy Heathsmith, Kevin Norburn, and Greg Holmes make Lara wear this outfit? Well, because they wanted to, but also, you know, let's not play dumb here. It's for the boys. It's for boys and men who these games have always primarily been marketed to. It's for them to look at and say, damn, the video game lady is hot in a way that doesn't make any sense for the plot of the game. So say the boys and men there. That's me quoting them. On this topic of showing more skin being sexualization, one of the stranger arguments from this video uses a comparison between Lara from Tomb Raider and Cynthia, a character from one of the animated shorts from the Dove ad. His argument goes like this. If Lara is being sexualized for showing a bunch of skin, which he doesn't believe, that's what I argued. If that's the case, then Cynthia, the character from the Dove ad, must also have been getting sexualized because she was wearing pretty much the same outfit, showing just as much skin. Why is Lara being sexualized and Cynthia isn't? He asks, gotcha-ingly.
Are you really going to tell me that this outfit on Lara Croft is an impractical sexualization of the character for the male gaze? But Cynthia here, who is effectively in the same outfit, is not a sexualization of the character?
Yes. Yes, I am, and here's why. There are two important differences between these two examples. The first one is context. Cynthia is wearing this outfit alone in her dressing room after removing her armor. This makes perfect sense in the plot because that's what a dressing room is for. It's where you change the more you know. Lara, on the other hand, is wearing this outfit for the entire game, despite how obviously impractical it is for her objectives. And yes, Cynthia ends up staying in this outfit as she goes on to continue filming, but I disagree that this means that she is being sexualized. And my reasoning for that is point number 2, character agency. Sorry, I forgot. In Cynthia's story, shedding her armor is her decision, as opposed to a decision made by a group of men trying to sell a game to other men like Tomb Raider. Lara didn't put on her outfit because it is fashionable for her body type, as Think Before You Sleep later implies.
Is she wearing that outfit because she's being sexualized? Or is she wearing that because the outfit is fashionable for her body type?
She didn't put on the outfit at all, actually. Some guys did. Cynthia has agency in the story for her outfit, unlike Lara, and using that agency to wear clothes that show more skin is only sexualization if you make the choice to sexualize her.
I feel like that's also the exact reason why, like, I don't know if it's going to come up with this conversation, but like Bayonetta is more of like an icon than she is like something to be ogled at. And there is this sense of Bayonetta is a very interesting conversation, and I'm sure people have written dissertations on that character. But like Bayonetta is a mommy dommy, okay? And she is disagreeing with like I'm sorry, I'm like trying to get all my thoughts in order in a way that I think is good. She has a lot of agency about the way that she dresses. And it's hard to think when you're thinking about someone so hot. Okay, listen, all right, stop. Okay. And I think that for that specific character, there is a sense of empowerment, right? It's like, yes, I am an unbelievably attractive and sexy, tall woman, you know? What are you going to do about it? You know? Which there's a couple things that are important here. First of all, yes, the character is going to be designed by men in the real world. And so of course they are also, when they create the character, they are creating a more sexualized version of the character. Yes, we should address that and admit that and accept that, yes. However, in the same vein, I feel like the way that you write the character is very important for how they are perceived. Because I think that going in the opposite direction of women only have agency if they are dressed conservatively is not true. It's not even remotely true. There are a lot of women in the real world who have full agency about the way that they dress. I mean, most women, at least in the US, like have agency about how they dress. And there are lots of women who want to dress provocatively, right? They're like, I like the way this makes me look. I'm going to wear this. Shut the fuck up, mumble cat. So yeah, it's sexy for the sake of being sexy, or is there like lore behind the sexy? Yeah. It's like, I feel like the character just has to come together in a way that makes sense. So there's, dare I watch the video again? Dare I do it? I've watched this video a million times. There's this amazing YouTuber who did a breakdown about Widowmaker versus Tracer. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Yes. Okay. It's a 20-minute video. I don't feel like going through the full 20-minute video, but we can take a quick little peek just so that I can explain what my perspective is a little bit better. How many people have seen this video? Like ones if you've seen it, twos if you haven't. It's titled Tracer and Pose Design 101, the animation of Overwatch. And the bio says, Oh, there's a lot of people who haven't seen it. Okay, that makes me feel less bad about showing it, probably for like the third time. Why the outcry over Tracer's over-the-shoulder victory pose in Blizzard's new FPS Overwatch. Professional game animator Daniel Floyd reviews why the principles of pose design and character presentation to explain why Blizzard changed the animation. So let's take a look, shall we? Why can't I hear anything? Oh.
Hey folks, my name is Dan, I'm a professional animator, and this is New Frame Plus, a show about animation in video games. Today, I would like to talk about Tracer, and I'd like to use that whole pose change kerfuffle as an opportunity to talk about pose design. Also, this episode's gonna contain a quiz, so get your number 2 pencils ready or whatever. Here we go! So just to establish what we're talking about here, this is Overwatch. It's Blizzard's first completely new IP in like 17 years, and it looks just rad. This is one of the best animated games I have ever seen. Like even for Blizzard, this looks really amazing. I'm probably definitely gonna do a bunch more.
This is before This is before Overwatch 2. This video is 5 years old. Okay, just give him some slack.
Episodes on it for this series someday.
It was a good game once upon a time.
She's arguably the game's mascot character, and she is also rad as hell.
She's like, cheers, love, the cavalry is here. Pew, pew, pew.
The game is not even out yet, and I already love this character. Now, recently, some minor controversy happened when Blizzard opted to replace one of Tracer's in-game victory poses due to a fan's criticism of it on their forums. Now,
there were a bunch of threads on the official Blizzard forums that said that this victory pose for Tracer was bad, and that they didn't like it, and that it should be removed or changed. Okay, let's keep going.
As a professional game animator, I'm a guy who poses 3D characters for a living, so already this situation had my interest. But the thing that got my full attention was that the fans' criticism of the pose wasn't merely that the pose was sexually pandering, but specifically that the pose was out of character. That's the sort of phrase that gets my animator brain going. If animators were actors, this would basically be the same as criticizing an acting choice. And to see the Overwatch creative team take that criticism and say, yeah, good note, we'll give that a second pass, makes this an even more fascinating situation. Today, I would like to analyze these poses from an animator's perspective, but to do that, we first need to learn the basics of pose design. Pose design is super important for character animation. When you think about it, an animated performance is basically just a succession of poses, characters moving from one pose to the next one to the next one. It's easiest to see this in action when you watch television animation, which has to keep things efficient for budget reasons. See, check this out. Pose, 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 and pose.
What was that?
An accent?
From where?
I don't know.
Acting!
So in terms of animation, what makes a good pose? You could easily fill a book with that topic, but I think it could be condensed down to 4 key things. Number 1, a good pose is clear and instantly readable. You want to be able to tell right away what that character's doing. It should be so clear that even if you looked at that character in silhouette at that exact moment, you'd still be able to tell what they're doing. If they're gesturing, the audience needs to see that gesture clearly. If they're holding something that the audience needs to know about, the pose needs to draw attention to it. Clarity should always be a top priority. Number 2, a good pose demonstrates proper physicality. The specifics can vary based on each character's body type, but an understanding of body mechanics is important so that you can give every character a real sense of weight distribution and balance.
A good side note on this one is knowing the rules and then knowing when you can break them. Even people who animate very weird characters that obviously could never exist in reality, understand the rules of like how a human being can move, and they know when they can break the rules and when they can't break the rules.
No matter what they're doing or how they're built. They don't necessarily have to be balanced all the time, but they should at least feel affected by gravity. That's what helps to give them presence and make them feel believable. Number 3, a good pose is visually interesting. It's not enough for a pose to just be clear and feel physically correct. Those things are important, but they don't make a pose interesting. No, for that, you need the pose to feel dynamic or to capture a sense of motion. The pose should have a strong line of action, which is an invisible line down the character's body which shows the primary force of the action. All of the parts of the body should coordinate to either work within the flow of that line or complement it in some way. The pose should avoid symmetry to keep things varied and interesting. Really, a lot of art rules for composition and design apply here. You need to pay attention to negative space, you want to create contrast, you want to guide the viewer's eye to where you want them to focus. At the end of the day, your goal is to create a visually engaging image, or in the animator's case, a succession of them. And number 4, a good pose conveys character. This one's really important, because every character has their own personality, their own soul, so to speak. And in animation, great poses are like a gateway to that character's soul. It's important to avoid cliches when posing your character, because every character has a different way of doing things, different posture, different expressions, different ways of viewing the world. And just like an actor, an animator's job is to know that character inside and out, and effectively present them to the audience. The best poses are the ones that are just loaded with character, that clearly communicate what the character's thinking and feeling in the moment. If the audience can immediately get some idea of who the character is just from a single glance, that's the sign of a good pose. Now, that was a lot of stuff to absorb, but it's okay. Animators spend their entire
I didn't mean to play this whole video, but it's actually really good, so I want to keep going.
career trying to master this stuff. But now that we've gone over a lot of the fundamentals, why don't we try putting it into practice with some test examples? Now I'm going to put up 2 images that feature the same character in 2 different poses, and let's see if we can pin down which pose works better. If you'd like to have a second to look at them and make your own assessment before I share mine, feel free to pause the video after I put up the images. Alright, here's the first one, you ready? Okay. Which one of these 2 Princess Peach poses would you say is the superior one? Which one's more interesting or communicates more personality? Well, I would say that the one on the right is more energetic and eye-catching, and also far more readable in terms of action. You can instantly tell that she's stretching out to reach at something. All of her body language sells it. The line of action, the outstretched hand, her eye line, the dress billowing behind her. I wouldn't say that this pose necessarily communicates a ton about the character, but the emotion of the moment at least reads loud and clear. The pose on the left isn't terrible, but it is less clear in a lot of ways. Her body stance feels okay, and those arm poses do feel really in character for Princess Peach somehow, but the expression's not communicating a whole lot to me. It's somewhere between
It's giving Mr. Beast thumbnail.
joy and, I don't know, surprise? The really confusing thing for me is her ponytail. Nothing about the rest of her pose conveys much movement or inertia, but her hair is just flying up in the air like she jumped off of something. It really doesn't feel like it ties into the rest of the pose at all. I'm actually a little surprised this was released as a promotional hero pose, but anyway, moving on. Next pose. Okay, now these are pretty similar. What do you think? Now again, neither of these are terrible, but the one on the right is definitely more interesting
really,
visually. Having Sora's body turned slightly away from us gives us a nicer line of action from head to toe, and his eye line ties into it really nicely. His body language combined with the expression and that tilt of the head makes Sora look heroic, but not super serious about it at the same time, which is totally who Sora is as a character. Looking at the pose on the left, you do still get that personality and that smile and that nice, strong, wide, A-shaped hero stance, but having him face us dead on, even with that little bit of head rotation, makes the pose look really symmetrical and just a bit more bland. Also, his crossed arms get a little bit lost visually, and not only because of all the detail complexity happening in that general area, but also because they don't make for a clear silhouette. The flat symmetry of this pose really hurts most with the legs and the feet. They look almost like a mirrored copy-paste.
The feet look so fucking bad. They look so bad. I'm 0 for 2. Oh my god, guys. Stingy Californian, thank you for the 15 months.
Space between the pant legs makes for a less appealing shape than what we see on the right. The flattened silhouette of the chain at his side doesn't work super well. And then there's the angle of his feet. Looking at the pose on the right again, Sora's feet feel nice and planted. Even without seeing a floor beneath him, you can still get a feel for the surface he's standing on, and the planted feet make that heroic pose feel all the stronger. The pose on the left's just not getting that benefit. Judging by the angle his feet are splayed out at, it looks like he's either standing on a surface that isn't flat, or maybe we're seeing him at a slightly down-tilted angle, like we're overhead slightly. But then the rest of his pose doesn't really feel like that, so yeah, overall I would say that the pose on the right definitely stronger in this case. Okay, next. Oh, 3 poses, a twist. Alright, which one works best? And remember, we're basing this strictly on the quality of the posing here, not the quality of the games these come from. Okay, let's go one by one.
Wait, chat. Do you guys want to judge? 1, for left, 2 for middle, 3 for right. Yeah, yeah.
Remember, we're basing this strictly on the quality of the posing here, not the quality of the games these come from. Okay, let's go one by one. The first pose is okay, but it's hurt somewhat by this iteration of Amy's design, and I'm mostly referring to the enormously sized hands and boots. They aren't insurmountable animation problems, but those kinds of proportions can have a significant impact on how a character animates, what they're physically able to do, and how they'll look doing it. The boots aren't too big a problem for this particular pose, but that waving hand is one of the pose's biggest weaknesses. Its sheer size makes it difficult to create negative space between her head and hand to make a clearer silhouette. And one of her fingers overlaps the white of her eye there, and that's not really a great look either. And I don't entirely love the facial expression here, but really most of my complaints come down to this iteration of the design. It's just not super animation friendly. But the important thing is that despite all those minor problems, the character's exuberant attitude does come across loud and clear in the pose, so that's good. Now this second pose is really working. Her attitude is different than in the previous pose, more of a relaxed confidence, maybe a little cocky, but her posture totally sells it. She's got a strong line of action, that's good, nice clear silhouette, the head tilt really helps to communicate that laid-back confidence, and I like the expression here too. If there's one thing the Sonic Boom redesign succeeds in, it's in giving the Sonic cast a better range of facial expression. I mean, it's not like there's anything remarkable about this lidded, yeah, I'm cool expression, but it works, and it's nice seeing some range for once. Also, Sonic characters tend to look their best when you cheat their mouth expression toward the camera like you see here. It looks really nice here, and neither of the other poses are doing that. This one is just really well composed overall. I like it. Can't say the same for that third pose though. That eye expression's just not really working. I can tell that they're going for that sort of one eyebrow raised thing, but it's kind of hard to achieve that when all you've got are eyelids. And this attempt leaves her looking somewhere between sassy and wasted. Yeah. And there's not much sense of weight to the pose either. The line of action isn't that clear, the legs feel really stiff and upright compared to the curved lean on the spine, and the way she's holding the hammer doesn't feel like it really ties into everything else. I think she's meant to be resting the thing on her shoulder, but I mean, it's not doing that. And the way she's holding the hammer makes it feel completely weightless too. I realize that they play fast.
Yeah, I will agree. I like how heavy the hammer looks in this one. I don't like how light it looks in this one. It looks like a toy hammer, you know? I didn't really care that much about the legs, but I'm not an animator, what do I know?
And loose with the weight of this hammer in the Sonic series, but it seems like it shouldn't ever feel so light that it looks like it's an inflatable. So yeah, pose number 2 is the winner. Next. All right, let's do one more set of 3. Again, never mind which of these games or iterations of Dante you like more. We're looking strictly at the pose design here. So what do you think? I'm actually gonna call this one pretty much a tie between the first one and the third one. The first pose is facing us dead on, so we're not getting a lot of
I really like 1. I think 1 looks really
curve
good.
To his line of action, but he's got just enough lean to the left in his torso and variation in the position of his arms and legs to keep everything from feeling too symmetrical. And his silhouette is crystal clear. I really like the composition of this pose overall, like the way the arms reinforce the shape of the long coat, the way the sword on his back is angled in the opposite direction of his line of action in order to create a better sense of balance, and it somewhat succeeds in conveying this newer, more punk-influenced Dante. He's walking right at us, he's direct, he's going for intimidation, he's got that young anger thing going, and this pose totally sells that. Strong pose overall. But I would say that the third pose is equally effective. He's got a much stronger line of action here, and the coat reinforces it.
2 is really giving Hassan.
And this pose is even better at clearly conveying the personality of this iteration of Dante. He's cocky, he's not terribly serious, he's intimidating, but in a way that suggests he in no way feels threatened by you. Where the first pose successfully conveys a facet of Dante's personality, I feel like this pose captures the whole picture. The only real nitpick I have with this one is the silhouette.
Don't. Third pose helps communicate the exaggerated swagger of a black teen, Denims. Stop. That meme needs to die. Stop.
See 2 issues. First, his gun arm that's pointing at us gets completely lost in the torso, which could be a problem, but different colors help to make that arm pop over the red of his coat, so that kind of saves it. There's also this other problem where his other gun hand overlaps with his head though. You see how that pistol grip edge lines right up with the edge of his hair? I think they probably could have found a way to clear up that aspect of his silhouette as well, but it doesn't ruin the pose. That's why I think this one's a tie. Better composition and silhouette on this side, better asymmetry and communication of character over here. And then there's this pose, which is just incredibly boring. It's like, hey, I'm Dante, I'm also here, what are we doing? It's got no energy, the near symmetry of his arms is pretty dull, and
You have to talk about his Hassan head.
I mean, what's he doing? Is he just shrugging? I guess they're going for a cool, nonchalant look, but I don't know, he just ends up looking bored. Yep, not even close. These two. Okay, I think that's enough warm-up, so let's finally start talking about Tracer.
Psst, what are you looking at?
This is really the
What do we know
this is
about
the
her from
gameplay.
what Blizzard has shown us so far? Well, we know that she's quick. We know that she's friendly. We know she's heroic.
Don't worry, loves. Cavalry's here.
And she seems to genuinely care about what she does and who she does it for. But we also know that she's goofy. She couldn't put on a straight face if she had to. Now, the context for all the poses...
Wait, the most important thing. She's a lesbian. That impacts her so much, okay? You have to point that out.
we're about
You
to
have to
discuss
point out the wokeism from Overwatch, okay?
is victory. These are the poses that your team of characters stand in when you win the game. So the goal of these poses, from an animation standpoint, should generally
She can't have a straight face because she's gay.
be to show how the character reacts to success. Maybe they're celebratory. Maybe they just stand all cool and heroic somehow.
Stupid.
Whatever they're doing, given this game's aesthetic, they should at least strike a pose that looks right out of an illustration for a poster or something. So without further ado, here is the original Tracer pose, which Blizzard eventually opted to replace. Now I should say up front, this is not a terrible pose. I mean, it's not incredible, but let's go down the checklist. It's instantly readable, strong silhouette, good sense of physicality and weight distribution, and it's also pretty visually interesting. Lots of asymmetry in the limbs, a decent enough line of action. It's definitely not the best Tracer pose on offer, but it's certainly more interesting than this stupid pose. But then there's the big question. What does this pose communicate? What's the character doing? What does it convey about who they are? That's where this pose falls pretty flat, and it's where the complaints raised about it are dead on. I mean, her stance does maintain some of
It
that
communicates ass.
lighthearted yet casual Tracer energy, but not nearly as much as some of these others do. This particular pose says nothing more than I'm posing for the camera, and that would be fine. Like I said, these are hero victory poses. Most everybody looks like they're posing for the camera. And it's not like every pose has to function as a character biography, but above all, they do still need to stay true to character, no matter what they're doing. And, well... Alright, I've talked around it
Why
long
she
enough.
got ass
Everything
straps.
about this pose is drawing attention to her butt. Like, all of it. The line of action down the spine, the straightened legs, the angles of the arms, her eye line, everything about the composition of this pose draws attention right here. The only reason
No
to
way.
stand in that particular way is to say, hey, check out my butt.
No.
I've seen
no
some
way.
people try to argue that other Overwatch characters are doing the same pose, as if everybody's complaints about this Tracer example are arbitrary and ridiculous. And what? No. Look, yes, these poses have a character rotated away from us and looking over their shoulder, but the posture and stance of these poses have very little in common with the Tracer pose. The lines of action are different, and neither of these is built to draw attention to the character's butts, or to sexualize them in any way, really. Honestly, if anything, they're just kind of boring poses. This is the only Overwatch character who has a pose that's even in the same ballpark in terms of posture, and it's still not the same pose. Look at the line of action, look at the angle of the torso. Nothing about the composition of this pose draws the eye to Hanzo's backside. Quite the opposite, our eyes are pulled up toward his face and his shoulder. Now, there is one other Overwatch character who does have an over-the-shoulder pose that draws attention to her features in a more sexualized way, and it's this one. Notice it's not the same pose, but it does draw attention to her physique in a sexualized way. In fact, a lot of her costuming and animation do. And yet, Widowmaker's presentation hasn't caused nearly so much a stir. The fan who brought up Tracer's posing expressed no problem with Widowmaker's portrayal, and Widowmaker's animation hasn't been changed at all, while that Tracer pose has. Why? Well, Widowmaker's character is clearly a spin on the femme fatale archetype, the attractive or seductive character who uses sexuality to draw you in before wrecking your day. And we can argue over whether or not that's still merely a justification to objectify a character, but let's at least agree that sexuality is a somewhat key component of this character as she's presented. That's why Widowmaker striking this pose works, and it's why Tracer striking this one doesn't. One of these poses stays true to the character, and the other one feels like it compromises the character for the sake of pandering, because it doesn't align with the Tracer we've been shown thus far. And clearly the Overwatch team ultimately felt the same way. So with all of that said, let's have a look at the pose Blizzard chose to replace the old one with. Alright, let's just go at this with the same criteria we've been using. It's still instantly readable, silhouette is still nice and clear, good weight distribution, good asymmetry in the limbs, and compared to the original pose, this one is way more dynamic. It has a much stronger line of action that runs head to toe, and it has a much greater sense of motion, and that alone makes it feel much more in line with Tracer as a character. Even in this static pose, she feels like she's springing up into the air. Now, it's worth noting that this pose has its own sexualized aspects as well. For starters, it totally looks like a pinup model pose. Specifically, this one. I'm sure that was their reference. That actually doesn't bother me though. For one, Tracer's a pilot, so having her strike a pose that evokes the sort of imagery that you'd see painted on the side of an old World War II bomber is kinda neat. And also, despite the sexual context of the reference source, the sense of motion in this pose still feels like Tracer, way more than the old one did. Of course, her butt is still pretty darn prominent here, but she's no longer posed in a way that makes her butt the clear center of focus. Honestly, at this point, it's more of a character modeling issue than an animation one. The way the model's been sculpted with such a deep crack, her butt's probably gonna look sexualized no matter how you pose her. If it was me, I'd consider giving the character model a revision pass too,
I
but
got that vacuum sealed cheeks.
whatever. My point is, from an animation standpoint, this is just a straight up better pose. It's better designed, and even more crucially, it's in character.
Like,
And I
like,
do
you guys have seen, like, for people who've watched Evangelion, the when they vacuum seal the suits, that's what they did with Tracer.
I want to stress again that sexuality can be integral to communicating character. I mean, sex is a huge part
Okay, that's all I wanted to show. That's all I wanted to show. Like, it's the rest of the video is also pretty good. Talks about a couple other things. Please go, like, give it a like and a fucking subscribe and whatever. But I think that he explains it in, like, he explains it very, very well, in my personal opinion. It's not so much that sexuality is a problem. It's that the character has to make sense with the rest of, like, the design, right? Like, I think Bayonetta works because she is a sexual character. She's I know I'm hot. I know I'm the shit. And you're gonna fucking deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, the level of confidence that character carries works, you know? Whereas I don't feel like that's a Lara Croft thing. Like, Lara Croft, I feel like the personality that she's been trying to convey is more like, I'm a Tomb Raider, you know? Like, the most recent Tomb Raider game, I'm pretty sure, like, they desexualize her a good amount because she's, like, climbing through, like, little holes and in mud and whatever, you know what I mean? She's like Indiana Jones, right? And so making her sexual kind of feels like out of place. It's the same problem that I have with, like, Quiet. It's like, well, you don't understand. She needs the holes in her tights so she can breathe and so she can photosynthesize, okay? It's in the lore. First of all, there's a male character in the lore that has the same condition she has and he is fully clothed all the time. Second of all, B, it, like, doesn't match her personality. It, like, it literally doesn't match it. You know what I mean? Like, Quiet is like, it feels like a parody. You know what I mean? Quiet was, like, a whole level of different creepy, which, like, here's the thing. If you want to say, I don't care, I like Quiet being sexualized, that's fine. That's fine. You can own that position, but don't cope about it and say, like, actually, like, it's fine because of this reason. You know, like, because that's not why. Quiet, for the uninitiated. Oh, anyone who's never seen Quiet, this is what she looks like. And their excuse for why she dresses this way is because she's got some skin condition where she needs to photosynthesize and she breathes through her skin or some bullshit. But there's a male character in the Metal Gear Solid lore, and the dude is like this. He has the same condition, except he's dressed in full, like, clothes. Full clothes. Why isn't she bald then? Why the latex gloves if she needs to breathe? Great questions. You know, great questions here. Be strong. Thank you for the 9 months. Thank you. Yes, for people asking, can we get like a picture of the guy? This is the guy. Here he is. One sec. Here's what the guy looks like with the same condition where he needs to breathe through his skin. You know, like, don't look me in the eyes and say that to me. Because here's the thing. You know what? If they made him dress as slutty as she was dressed, I would be like, fine. I accept it. I accept it. Sure. You got me. You got me. But like, come, you know what I mean? Come on, dude. Come on. Also, we have to address something. The ripped tights are ridiculous. The ripped tights in lore are ridiculous. It makes more sense for her to not be wearing tights at all. Ripped tights are a sexual article of clothing. You know, they're a risque article of clothing. There's no such thing as tactically ripped tights. You know? Either give me equal sluttiness in both the characters or stay true to the characters, you know? That's all. That is my opinion. Because if they want to slut up the men, that's fine with me. You want that old man wearing a Speedo because he got to breathe through his skin? Let's see it. Let's see some crack. All right? But don't look me in the eyes and tell me that she is sexualized for A, B, or C reason. Okay? Let's just... Please. Let him breathe through his cock, goddammit. Oh, God. So yeah, that was all to sort of provide context to the fact that I think that there is valid criticism that you can make about characters in different video games being overly sexual in instances where it doesn't really make sense for the character to be overly sexual. And it is not hypocritical to think that Bayonetta can have magic girl transformation scenes where you can see like side boob or whatever, and she's like barely not nude. Like, it's not hypocritical to think that that's okay, but this isn't okay. It's actually completely consistent. This was a good I would like to think that this was a good Sunlock. What about Nier Automata? I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know Nier Automata that well. I can't even really comment on it. I don't know anything about the characters. I just know that there's like an upskirting achievement. I like the design. I like the 2B design. I think it's cool, but I haven't played the game, so I don't know. The creator just said that he likes butts and that's why he designed them that way. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised. Didn't the devs just straight up say that they did it for the ass? I believe it, yeah. Nier doesn't talk about some BS condition. The creator just wanted her to be sexy, which, like, I have to respect that. I gotta respect it, you know? You're just like, no, there's no reason for her to be dressed this way. No, it doesn't make her better at fighting. No, it's not because of some condition. No, I just really think that the character should be hot. And I wanted to make them hot. It's like, okay. Like, at least you're owning it. You know what I mean? Like, that's, yeah, go ahead. Own it. All right. Okay. We'll get to the next part of the video. But sorry, before I press play, one last thing on this topic. The reason why a lot of these people are afraid to own it is because they are then admitting that games are being, in fact, marketed to men, and that this is some level of pandering. And once you admit that, you have to admit and concede a bunch of other things that they don't want to concede, you know? Because once you admit, like, oh, characters are sexualized unnecessarily, then they have to see certain characters stop getting sexualized or start seeing characters that they don't want to see sexualized, you know? Have you seen the clip with Myth scrolling the Steam store and scrolling past a game very TOS? No. And it brings in more money, probably. Yeah. This is why I respect Oda in One Piece. He just like, I like boobies. Yeah. I disagree with Oda. I think that he should have better variety in the female characters that he draws. And I think it's boring that he gives the male characters such cool silhouettes and he gives the female characters the same silhouette. But I'm glad that he owns it. You know, he just is like, it's my fucking show. And it's my manga. I'm gonna draw them how I want to draw them. Okay, you can't stop me. It's like, you know what? Sure. You're right. It's your media. You can do what you want with it. All right.
For showing more skin. That is what Think Before You Sleep does in this video by making this comparison. And then he does it again in a more intense manner at the next thing, which is the whole bent over ass shot scenario.
So now we have a bent over ass shot that is center of the frame that adds nothing to the story. They went full on anime camera angles and somehow they're going to claim that it's not an attempt at sexualizing the character.
Now it sucks that we have to do this again because this part makes me honestly pretty uncomfortable. But we do, because Think Before You Sleep here tries to weasel his way out of the perv allegations, and I just cannot let that happen. I'm gonna play this whole build-up clip for context, but just watch how he tries to justify his observation about the anime camera angle. When Think Before You Sleep sees this shot here, to him, it's the same as this shot here. When he looks at this shot, all he sees is this. He's so worked up about seeing a woman from behind that his brain fails to render the rest of the frame.
Actually, I didn't even notice this when I first watched the ad. I only noticed it because I was watching a woman review it, and she pointed out that Cynthia's outfit was sexualized.
So here she is, in less clothes, wearing...
Not this woman. The woman who eats fucking sticks of butter as like a marketing skit. This woman is
less
completely
clothing,
brain dead. Oh my god, dude. I'm embarrassed to be a woman because of her. Is that her? Yeah, like she's a fucking through and through conservative grifter. Let me Google it. Let's see if it comes up. Stick of butter eating lady. Wow, she's actually not coming up. Maybe she's like banned on YouTube? I saw so many of these on my Twitter feed all of the time. Okay, I can't find it. I'm sorry. I will try and find it for you guys, but I guess until then, let's go.
Mind you, more revealing outfit. See, that's another part that really says to me that they don't care about sexualization. This isn't a modesty thing. She's wearing basically the exact same outfit that Lara Croft is criticized for wearing.
Notice that this lady doesn't ever say anything about the horny camera angle. She's talking specifically about Cynthia's outfit and how it shows more skin. Think Before You Sleep is the one bringing up the anime backshots thing. But he's sort of laundering that take in with the fact that this lady mentioned the outfit as well. He's like, I would never do a pervert thing like that. See, even a girl agrees with me about how her outfit is revealing. So that must mean that seeing her from behind is inherently sexual. That's sexualization right there, what he's doing. The last point about sexualization that I want to talk about here, it regards body proportions. His argument here goes something like this. Slim, curvy women exist. So, criticizing that body type in female game characters as being sexualized is a way of sexualizing real women that have that body type. There's nothing inherently sexual about this figure, and if you consider it sexualization to see it in a game, then you're the one doing all the sexualizing, you little creep.
Is she wearing that outfit because she's being sexualized, or is she wearing that because the outfit is fashionable for her body type? Allow me to clarify this, because Noah's line of thinking is something that many people use to attack women for how they were born. Two different women can wear the same outfit, and whether you're a slut or not is determined by your body type, not by the clothes you're wearing. These are similar tops, except one girl has curves and one doesn't. Can you tell me which girl is going to get called a slut?
So, Think Before You Sleep here acknowledges that there is a stereotypically sexualized figure in our society.
Gonna be honest, I would be calling neither of them sluts, actually. The way that someone is dressed and the way that someone looks is not relevant to how much sex they're having. At all. This guy's so weird. I found it, by the way. I found it. Thank you, Veggie, for cursing me. This woman.
You know, one of the biggest problems with society today is that we're celebrating mental illness. Bipolar, borderline personality disorder, ADHD, feminism. People are celebrating this stuff when we should be treating it. You know, one of the biggest problems with society today.
I can fix her.
Carla, thank you for the 9 months. Thank you. Yeah, this is the woman that the fucking incel voice motherfucker. This is the woman that he was quoting. He's like, look, even a woman agrees. And then the woman in question is like the worst person you've ever met. Ever. Is this a joke? No. No. She's like a through and through like conservative grifter. And she like does weird shticks in hopes that like they catch on or something.
Society and culture, the slim woman with curves. As he says, the person on the right is more likely to be sexualized by society because of her figure, and this is something we actually agree on. However, he doesn't stop to wonder why that figure, the one he is admitting is more likely to be sexualized, or called a slut, as he puts it, why that body is so overrepresented in games. All of these characters have some variation of that body type, and that might make a more self-aware person wonder if the video game industry has a sexualization problem. I don't know. The last thing to touch on in this section is where he accuses me of body shaming thin, curvy women for the way that I edited my video by censoring thin, curvy Lara and not average-bodied Lara.
Wait, did he censor thin Lara but kept fat Lara fully in view? Do you not understand that you're body shaming curvy women? This is a body type that real women have. Noah, even you're doing it. I initially thought this was a mistake and he just forgot to censor it because everything else was censored, but this specific image was referred to multiple times and only thin Lara was censored. Unless he doesn't watch his videos for mistakes before uploading, this was done on purpose. Do you not see why I say that body positivity in the cultural zeitgeist is solely about obesity?
I have to say something really quickly. First of all, A, fat Laura is a crazy statement to say, given the character design and model. Second of all, B, I fucking just like, I hate so much when people unironically try and like use your own liberal logic against you, as if there has ever been anyone that has been body shamed for fitting the conventional mold of society. That would be like having rippling abs as a dude, being like 6'2", huge pecs, huge arms, nice cheeks, and someone's like, well, actually, I don't think you look good, and this is me body shaming you. It's like, dude, fuck, like literally stop, like literally, like, can we live in reality, please? Just, please. It's the typical white people can experience the same racism too. Yeah, it's like there is, I think, thin shaming that happens in society where women who are very thin, and this is something that actually probably impacts men more. People who are very thin, who have very low body fat percentages, just because they just eat less or they don't like food as much, they get body shamed. It's like, why don't you eat a burger? You know, and that's fucked up. That's fucked up, and we shouldn't do that. 100%. However, the body type that he's talking about, someone who has a low body fat percentage everywhere except for their boobs and their ass. I don't think that those people can be body shamed the way that any other bodies can be in today's society, because that body type is clearly the ideal